Good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, the 16th November, and this is the 1475th meeting of the Committee Against Torture. It's a public session that is being webcasted, and we are here to hear the replies from the delegation from Sri Lanka.
Since yesterday, the internet seems to have exploded, and Reporters Without Borders, Journalists for Democracy in Sri Lanka, the International Truth and Justice Project, and others have been writing about you, Mr. Mendes. And they say that you indeed oversaw the CID and TID. And in fact, I don't need them to tell me that because I have the High Commissioner's Office's report, the OISL report, which in paragraph 134 says that the CID is primarily responsible for investigating services and organized crimes, but also counterterrorism activities, and it talks about the so-called fourth floor at police headquarters in Colombo, which it says, and I quote, is particularly notorious as a place where many detainees are taken for interrogation. And then it says, in April 2009, the Deputy Inspector General of the CID was Cecilia Mendes, unquote. In paragraph 553 of the OISL report, it tells us that the commonly used centers, such as the Joseph Military Camp in Vivunia and the CID fourth floor in Colombo, quote, had rooms that were set up with torture equipment, illustrating the premeditated and systematic nature of the use of torture by units of the Sri Lankan security forces, unquote. And then they describe some of that equipment in detail, and it's quite arresting, quite grim. So, Mr. Mendes, it's very unusual for this committee to have a person who's had the experiences you have before us. You're now Chief of National Intelligence in the Ministry of Defense. You had command responsibility for the CID and TID at that time. Can you elaborate for us specifically how you interacted with military intelligence? Can you tell us whether you or officers under your responsibility jointly interrogated persons deprived of liberty together with military officers or together with members of the TID, which were co-located there? Do you have any information about Vivunia Hospital? It's located nearby the Manic Farm. It was said to be a site from which people were involuntarily disappeared. What knowledge do you have of any persons from Vivunia Hospital who were interrogated by CID and TID units? Was there a registry kept, a database on this? Is it available? What knowledge did you also have of interrogations that took place? We were told that people were separated, male and female, and then interrogated, and that there was a huge proportion of sexual abuse, including rape and other forms of violence. Do you have any specific knowledge of that? Can you give us any information on the cases that were raised by NGOs regarding the events there? And also, the Reporters Without Borders have given us the names of at least 4 people who were allegedly abducted and interrogated by the TID with a claim of ill treatment and or torture. J.S. Tisinayagam, a journalist, the writer V. Jasikaran and his wife V. Valarnathi, and other names in their documentation. I'd welcome information on that. Now that leaves me very little time for the rest of my questions, but I think it's so important that we get to the straight story when we have somebody who's been in a position of authority at a key time associated with these reportedly horrific events.
So actually, I think we have exhausted now our questions, and we would like the replies from the delegation. You can use a couple of minutes in recess, if you like, maybe 5 minutes, to get organized, and then we resume. Fine. Thank you very much.
May I thank the chairperson for conducting these proceedings and the other members of the committee for this interactive dialogue that had with the delegation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Attorney General. We thank you for the replies provided. We had hoped for more replies. We had hoped that there were not a lot of unanswered questions, particularly those relating to Mr. Mendes. Nevertheless, we hope that some of the replies will be kept within the written reply within the 48 hours, and we look very much forward to those replies. I wish the delegation to have a safe trip back. Thank you.